Welcome to part 2 of getting to know your curriculum documents in math for Plymouth Community Schools. We have every unit is going to look similar depending no matter the grade level from K to 8. You're going to start with a unit title that gives you a basic idea of what will be covered in the unit, and then an approximate number of days that you should spend working towards the mastery of the content within this unit. In grades K to 4, units will have learning outcomes, and that's based on how we do our report cards in K through 4. We took clusters of standards together and we wrote outcome statements for that chunk of standards that we blended together. The outcome statements are what will appear on the report card. So right here we have 2 outcome statements that will be reported on for 4th grade math. The first one is bolded, which means that it actually will be tested at the end of Unit 1. The second outcome, which is not in bold, indicates that you're going to begin teaching to this outcome, add, subtract, multi-digit whole numbers. However, you're going to continue that in another unit where it will be more appropriate to test it. So since part of it will be taught in Unit 1, but more of it you will see later, it won't be tested yet, which is why it is not in bold. We talked earlier about, in our last video, about the different codings that you'll see, and based on the Department of Education guidance documents that we were given, some standards in math are critical, some are important, and some are additional. And then based on how many each grade level had of critical, important, additional standards, we were able to get a rough calculation of how many days should be spent teaching towards the mastery of these standards. And that's what you see here. So on the DOE documents, you'll see check pluses, which is now in our documents critical. That'd be a 3-star. A check is indicated on the state documents as important, and ours will be indicated by 2 stars, and a 1-star is additional. In ISTEP tested grades, we were also given additional information of content that should be taught prior to giving the applied skills on the ISTEP test, and those that could be taught after. So A is after the applied skills, and if you see a coding of B behind a standard, then the state has recommended that we teach that content prior to that first ISTEP test. Those are codings that you will not find in K1 and 2. You will, however, find them in grades 3 through 8. And that's the meaning behind those. In each document, you will find prior learning. Prior learning, we took the vertical alignment given to us from the state. We looked at the standards that we were working on within a unit, and then we looked backwards. So for 4th grade, we would have looked for a vertical alignment piece matching these standards in grades definitely 3, 2, and in some cases you'll see some 1st grade correlation. Each strand, so we have the number sense strand here in Unit 1, and if we go further down, we have the computation strand. Each strand has its own prior learning. And then inside of each strand, or inside of each unit, excuse me, you're going to find know and use terms. So what we have done is we've gone to the standards themselves and we've looked for the terms that we will be required, students will be required to know about, and we made sure that we created a focus list. The Department of Education also produced a know and use terms list, and then we would cross-reference that. So that is where we gathered these terms from. And for just a second, I'd like to talk about how you should teach vocabulary. Sometimes I believe that vocabulary in math is, presented and maybe not necessarily gone any further than that. So at this time, we should take a look at what our ELA teachers do or what you do in ELA, if that is content that you currently teach, and bring some of that knowledge and expertise over into math. We should be practicing our math vocabulary, and we should be writing it. One way to do that is using a Frayer model, and this is, I think, probably pretty common to those who teach ELA as well as math in the lower grades, where you can, in a journal activity, you can have students put the term in, the definition, the characteristics, what distinguishes that word from other words in math, pictorial examples of that word, as well as non-examples. I've found that using the non-examples piece clears up a lot of misconceptions. So this is a blank Frayer model. Here's one where that idea has been used to talk about the word perimeter. You can see again a student definition, facts and characteristics, pictorial examples of perimeter as well as non-examples of perimeter. Now over the years I kind of developed a Y model. It helped me with my E&L students as well as maybe my IEP students. And it took out some of the writing, but it still enabled us to see the math pictorially. And I just kind of named that the Y model. I just create a giant Y, and to practice vocabulary, we would copy down the word and we'd talk about what it was as a content and what that word was not. So this is a model I use to adapt for special needs or areas of concern, or sometimes in just units where we just had a lot of vocabulary and we needed to just be able to spend some time seeing the relationship between the words. So I do believe that math vocabulary, I think that, just listing it, just talking about it is not enough. I think that you do need to assess, you need to practice, you need to allow them time to use the words. And I also believe that you need to make sure that when you ask for responses that they're using the correct terminology as mathematicians. What else will you find in unit? Now this is in every single unit, no matter the grade level. You will find a correlation based on the curriculum product that we use in grades K through 4, that's Envision, and in grade 6, that would be digits. So you would find a correlation of topics, resources that you can use to help teach the content within this curriculum document. That doesn't mean that I would teach all of topic 5 and all of topic 7 if that's not what was outlined in my curriculum documents. In this case, we may need to go to our purchased sources, our digits and our Envision, and pick and choose what fits. We have to remember that both of these products are Common Core aligned, and we are no longer Common Core aligned. So that creates some of the issue with the current materials that we have. So just be thoughtful of that when you're planning. Now going back to Common Core aligned, behind each standard you will find a Common Core alignment, okay? If there was one. If this particular piece is blank or in your document, then there is no Common Core alignment. Now why did we leave that in there? We left that in there simply because nationally there are going to be more sources aligned to that particular standard than the ones just specifically written for Indiana. And we don't want to miss out on the millions of dollars of funding that has been put into different sites in different states that had to publish their documents. We want to be able to access that readily and easily and still be able to look for materials that help support the work we're doing. So these are the Common Core matchups to our Indiana standards. And again, if you find one, let's see if we can go down in here and find one that's blank. Oh, they're there. So this particular one doesn't match up exactly with a Common Core. So inside of a unit, we have our progressions, the standards we've lumped together. From there, we have know and use terms for every single unit. You'll find that. We have textbook or resource correlations based on programs already purchased for Plymouth. This is something that we will build in each and every unit that will attach to our learning targets. I'm going to talk about that in our next video. The last thing I want to mention are the learning targets. So what you see here in this entire spot is a learning progression. Okay, so let me go over that. All of these bullets build to make one learning progression. That gray clump where they're together. From beginning to end, it should go from a lower to a higher level of thinking. Each individual bullet is a learning target. It is a step along the way to being able to know, use, and be fluent with the math related to the standards on the left. So these are your learning targets, but all of them together make your learning progression. So I know that's a lot to take in, and again, you'll find that in each and every unit. Okay? When you look at your learning targets to plan, it is my hope that you will look in multiple progressions within your unit. This unit has 2 progressions, and you will see where you can blend your targets to make more meaning between the number sense and the computation. Thank you.